Hey everyone, I am live and I am trying to bring some really pertinent information out to the public. I have made a concerted effort in the past couple of weeks to start creating some content for you all to have as a resource to aid in your decision making and whether or not you want to move forward with your marriage. Are you able to heal from betrayal? And ultimately, if you're a betrayer, or a wayward spouse, much like I was, at least initially, is that there is a way for you to be able to be whole again and not carry around shame and guilt. And so I'm working on this for my website, which is Commit and Conquer. You can go there for those resources, but I'm building out the framework for some coursework where you can actually break down the foundations of how to start from scratch, basically clearing the foundation to rebuild something new, right? And you cannot make someone trust you. They do so because they see a change in you. And so part of this process is really doing an internal dive, looking at ourselves, asking what is it that I was bringing to the marriage that I need to change. And it's also asking the other person, saying, what are the things that I need to do that are contributing to either dysfunction in my marriage, toxicity, or other areas that need to be improved within the relationship. You're not going to know whether or not you can move forward without having these other things identified first. So quickly, just going to touch on these 8 steps of how to move down the process towards recovery. Again, recovery is a little different for everyone. In general, it's about 18 months. Some people heal more quickly than others, and that's a myriad of factors. 2 partners who are willing to work on it, committed to change, willing to learn and invest in resources, support groups, marriage seminars, investing back into the relationship. And those that just really want to hang on to the hurt, sometimes because they have a partner that's not really participating, so they're unable to move on. And other times it's simply because they are stuck in old patterns themselves and they are looking for ways to break free. And so this coursework is designed to give you the tools to do that both ways, right? Whether that's a spouse that's not really participating, or it's you yourself, maybe you're stuck in old habits. It's to help you get through that process. And I think the very first thing you need to really look at are barriers to healing. So there are things that we do to one another relationally that cause us to be in constant conflict. We need to identify what are those things so that we can then move forward. And that really leads to number 2, which is being able to create safety. You're not going to be able to communicate about your challenges or the betrayal itself, or maybe even past hurts in the marriage, if you don't have safety where both partners can share their feelings without placing blame or being defensive. And so that leads us a little further into empathizing, which is part of step number 2, being able to see something from your partner's perspective so you can fully take accountability and support them in what they're going through. You may not look the same for you. You may not even agree, but as a partner, you can actually sit in and be a part of their healing. As we all know, because of betrayal is an incredibly painful process and experience, a lot of anger comes up. But anger is really a secondary emotion. So you have to figure out what is the underlying feeling that's going on and address that. So we're going to get some tools and tips to be able to figure out what is that secondary emotion, or the primary emotion secondary to that, to anger, and then be able to dissect that enough to say, okay, why is this resurfacing? Why is this a continued challenge for me? We all talk about things like, if you've been a part of infidelity, terms like triggers or flooding. This is where it's an intense, overwhelming emotional state that doesn't really allow you to be able to think rationally or logically or critically. And when those things happen, we need to be able to recenter ourselves. So there's some training around emotional regulation and emotional intelligence. Step 4 is going to be around identifying the patterns. So what are the habitual patterns that we do and we bring into the marriage, or we do for ourselves? Could be a loss in identity. It could be coping mechanisms. We call them misery stabilizers. Just turning on the TV, watching TV instead of addressing the real problems and the issues that are going on in our marriage or within ourselves. Grooming behaviors, those who maybe are dealing with sexual addiction, or I have found a lot of individuals that suffer from that grooming kind of behaviors. It becomes kind of addictive in terms of sales. They're trying to win the client over. They don't realize how much they're trying to get their favor and attention. So they make up things. They will try to tell someone they look pretty or they look nice or that they're special to try to win favor for the deal. But what you're doing is you're creating more of an intimate or vulnerable type bond there. And that relationship is unhealthy for marriages. And so you have to be able to have that boundary and create that. So we do see people who are in sales have to work really hard at creating healthy boundaries in the workplace, because the work-life balance is really skewed. There's a lot of after-hours events and that sort of thing. So identifying the patterns, are we using work as a coping mechanism to disengage and not and withdraw from the marriage? So identifying patterns is important. That's step 4. Step 5 is making amends. So there's activities involved with making amends. It's really not just the words. I'm sure many of you that have been betrayed, you're like, I've heard plenty of words. There's been so many lies. And that's why love is an action. It's an outward change in your behavior, and you do something for the need of someone else over yourself. And so when you're making amends, the activities are lending towards pushing the person into action through activities and saying words such as writing letters, reading those letters out loud, different things like that, that the betrayed partner can hear as a real source of, they get what I'm experiencing. That's a big challenge for the betrayed individual to feel safe, is because they feel like they have to bring it up because you're not going to. And then that means you don't understand their hurt and that you don't care. And realistically, as a wayward, you may just be afraid of upsetting that person. So you don't bring it up. You're trying to tiptoe. You're walking on eggshells. You don't want to do that. We want to get it out in the open. You want to be proactive in your conversation with your betrayed partner. How are you feeling today? Giving yourself a scale so you know where you are and you are showing that you care about their needs more than your own. And so part of that is going to help you mend your broken marriage or the broken relationship. I've heard this called a couple different things. Draw the circle around yourself. I call it starts with you, because so much of what is going to allow you to move forward is to move into marriage 2.0. Nobody wants the old marriage. There was something there that was missing that's caused a lot of fracture. And so there's a lot more hope and excitement about potentially starting something new where you're both working together to go down the same path. And so we'll identify things that maybe you're contributing to the marriage as an individual, or potentially ways in which that you could be self-sabotaging, depending on, again, addiction to pornography, or old trauma from your childhood that then allows you to move into your marriage and you self-sabotage your marriage because you have had these old patterns of believing and thinking that keep resurfacing themselves. So we have to look at ourselves. A big step, and everyone talks about it, and there's a lot of different views on this particular topic, is forgiveness. What does that look like? There's kind of a secular view. There's a Western society view of forgiveness. See, there's a Christian biblical principle forgiveness, and that's certainly what I focus on, because it's 2 parts. There's vertical forgiveness, then there's horizontal forgiveness. And realistically, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. You're not doing it for the other person. It's really giving you the freedom of not having bitterness and hatred in your heart that will rule and run your life. However, it does not mean the perpetrator is getting away with the ability to continue to hurt you, or that the thing that they've done doesn't matter and they get a free pass. This is going to be something that still has to be talked about and processed. Forgiveness is a daily action. And it will get easier and easier, and you will know if someone's actually able to move into reconciliation. So there's 2 different processes. Forgiveness for sure is for you. Reconciliation is for the marriage. And sometimes it's not safe or smart to move back into the marriage based on the behavior of the other person. So it's important to bifurcate those 2 different views, because I used to group those 2 together, and that really got me stuck for a long period of time because I wanted my marriage so much. I really wasn't working on the full forgiveness aspect, which allowed a lot of ugly things to surface as we were trying to recover our marriage. And then lastly is the mission of marriage. So why are we doing this? Why are we putting the time in? Why am I going to give this person another chance? What does this mean? The consequences of this particular issue, like how is it going to affect our extended family, our children? If we do have divorce, what would that look like, financially? And then if you can create a shared vision for what the new marriage will look like, then you have a mission and you have something you're working towards. And that's when things will start to feel more normal. But you do have to go through all the processes first to be able to get there. So I just wanted to leave this note for you all who are struggling. There is hope. Again, feel free to go to my website if you want some one-on-one coaching. Coursework should come really soon. Also have a complimentary meetup support group that meets once a month just to talk about what's going on in our lives, how to process and live life together, those who have gone through infidelity in their marriages. So you can check that out on Meetup as well. So I wish you all the best. I will continue to pray for everyone who's struggling. Again, take this information, pass it around. I just want people to be encouraged to know that there is absolutely hope to recover from infidelity, whether that's for your marriage or just you as an individual who's suffering from the shame and the anxiety of, I did this thing. How am I going to get out? How am I going to be free again? How am I going to not have these regrets my whole life? And there is absolutely hope. There is a way out. And it takes a lot of work, but you do have to have a structured path. And my goal is to get this information out to you also, that you have resources and support and hope. So looking forward to seeing you all. Thank you again. Talk later.